Part of being a third worldist is understanding that due to the super exploitation of the third world, the capitalist class in the first world has a great potential to make concessions to the people there in order to squash their revolutionary potential. Obviously, the best example of this being the New Deal or social democracy in Western Europe. However, these things tend to come in waves. One of the first big waves that started was the US Civil War. And then since then, once social antagonisms increased to such a point where it might cause too much of a problem, some concessions were made, most notably the civil rights movement. My point in this is, I think we're seeing one of those moments right now. A lot of this has to do with the Black Lives Matter movement. Look at what we've seen in just the last couple of weeks. The media, obviously except for Fox News, is definitely on board of getting rid of the Confederate flag. There doesn't even seem to be much of a debate about it. Not that there really needs to be, but the ruling class and its representatives in the media certainly do create a false dialogue when necessary. But there doesn't seem to be one this time. They're all on board for getting rid of it. Walmart and Target have taken the Confederate flag out of their stores, basically without even really being requested to. The mobile game app was taken out that had the Confederate flag in it, in which I actually kind of disagree because it was, just a game, a historical perspective game. But think about that. All this is happening very quickly without much discussion. Now, take a look at the media in the last couple of weeks. What have we been hearing? We've been hearing words that we've never heard in the mainstream media before. White privilege, proper definitions of white supremacy, actually acknowledging that it's there, and there's been a real acknowledgement of racial problems in the United States. And think about Obama, who was just on the radio and used the N-word, and it didn't really seem to cause that much of a stir. Of course, Fox News did, but the general media didn't. The tone is definitely changing. The mainstream media seems to be really on board with this. Getting rid of the Confederate flag, acknowledging racism exists, acknowledging that white supremacy and white privilege exists. And then we get the legalization of gay marriage. What's really happened here? Well, obviously the last 6 months in the United States have been pretty explosive. There have been a tremendous amount of police killings just in the last year alone. And I think we're at a point where the government is starting to realize that there is a problem. The ruling class realizes that there really is a problem. So all of a sudden we're seeing a total shift in policy, right almost entirely across the board of the capitalist class. And they're all getting ready to make big concessions to people. Look at the Black Lives Matter movement. What's happened with that? These concessions come in at a particular time, and they're taking over the Black Lives Matter movement. One of the points of making it Black Lives Matter and not All Lives Matter is because white liberals will come in and completely distort the whole process, make it entirely about them, and kill the entire meaning of it, where dealing with police on black violence doesn't get dealt with. But look exactly what has happened here. This whole change in tone of society is essentially the liberal streak making these concessions has taken over the Black Lives movement. And we're going to watch in the next couple of weeks, maybe the next 2 months, the all Black Lives Matter movement is going to disappear. The important thing here is that all of this is very superficial. Getting rid of the Confederate flag. What does that really challenge? Legalizing gay marriage. How does that fundamentally challenge capitalism? It doesn't. These are nice, cosmetic changes that are made to placate a lot of people being angry. There are more people upset about this Confederate flag than there is about the systemic violence that's going on in the country, or even the systemic violence that the United States carries out across the world, killing millions of people a year. These are all nice, safe, cosmetic changes that can make people happy. And in doing this, it's making people less angry, less likely to do something about the systemic oppression that exists within the country and globally. This is all being done to placate what they feel might be a potential social upheaval, because things are getting pretty bad, especially with regards to African Americans and the police killings. So they're giving us nice, token, superficial stuff to placate us. And frankly, it's working. What do we see? We see the Democrats jumping on everything that has been part of the so-called radical program of Marxists in the First World. Gay marriage, LGBT rights, all of this, and racism, all of it now being taken in by the Democratic Party, which means all those communists who had organized along those lines, come with us, we'll be the only ones to bring you liberation for being homosexual, LGBT, black people, communists trying to infiltrate the black resistance movement, take it over for their cause, is now all failing. Because they're trying to do what the Democrats are now already doing. So all of their efforts have been rendered useless. Now consider how many so-called communists are jumping on the Bernie Sanders bandwagon. They're all coming out now in support of Bernie, saying, no, we should vote for him. He's a socialist, and that if we get him elected, then everything's going to change. Think about what you're saying here. You're saying that you're just going to elect somebody and capitalism is going to go away? I don't think so. But look at that. That glimmer of hope that it can be done in a peaceful manner, that you don't actually have to do revolution, has been offered to us once again. Nice, safe, cosmetic, liberal reforms to keep the majority of people happy. And the illusion that you can vote for Bernie Sanders and get socialism can get what radical elements onto their side as well and placate them from taking any kind of radical action. LGBT, gays, blacks, leftists, radical leftists have all been handed something to calm them down and keep them from doing anything that might actually challenge the system. And I think that's exactly what we have right now. Another wave of concessions to keep people from possibly going in a revolutionary direction. And the only reason that this is possible is, one, they're entirely cosmetic and they can't really do anything. Like they don't really challenge the system at all. And in other cases, they throw money at it. We're probably going to see a lot of programs for black people. We're going to see a bunch of money being spent on LGBT, particularly youth, all of which will be paid for out of super exploitation. And all of it just enough to keep the social antagonisms down, but without having any kind of radical or meaningful change whatsoever. If you like this video and you'd like to see more of them, then head over to my Patreon page and show your support. Or you can go to the MRN bookstore and check out some of the latest books available. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, and share on various social media.